Before I can install the insulation in the walls, there are several very important items I need to address. But first, we need to talk about some plumbing. So thanks to the comment of several viewers, it seems like I was definitely not having the right approach when I tightened this connection to try and make it leak-free. And since this is going to be behind the tiled wall, I absolutely do not want to take any risk of this ever leaking. So I just decided that, as a cheap insurance policy, I'm actually just going to redo this connection. I mean, I'm really glad that you guys were willing to share your experience. And I don't know everything, and so I'm really glad that you made me a better DIYer by telling me how things should be done properly. I started by using maybe 3 or 4 layers of plumber's tape, and then after some research, I have learned that I would be allowed to use some pipe dope to add on top of the plumber's tape. I did some research, and the actual OD website do reference that you can use both in conjunction. So I just decided to go for it. And then I just hand tighten the pieces together to really just get something snug. I reproduced the same process on the 2 other connections. And then I used the wrench to really get it a little bit tighter, but I definitely did not go as tight as I did in the past. And once I got it snug enough, I figured that I would go ahead and assemble everything here separately on the flanc, which would then allow me to pressure test it separately before putting it back into the bathroom wall. So I plugged 2 of the 3 ends so that it would be pressure tight, and then I added back my gauge and I was able to pump it with air. I mean, thankfully this time, this is such a small assembly that pumping it to 80 psi took literally a couple of pumps. And then unfortunately I did find another leak. But thankfully, I was quickly able to figure out that the leak was coming from the shower pressure test cap and not from any of the connection that I just made. So that made me feel a lot better. The last step was to simply cut out the valve that I had installed and replace it with the new assembly by simply coupling the connections at 3 locations: the hot water, the cold water, and the shower head. I then did a final pressure test, and everything went fine, and I was good to go. So let's switch up to some electrical stuff. So if you remember, a few weeks back I did a video about the trim, and I installed an additional receptacle simply by connecting it to an inside receptacle. I decided to go back and change that because my inside receptacle and outside receptacle should be on different circuit. So I went back, as you can see here, and I actually ran a wire back from that outside receptacle all the way through the wall, all the way up to this receptacle here that's in the soffit, which is on my second circuit, which is the outside circuit. As a reminder from my electrical plan, everything in red was my first circuit, which is mostly my interior stuff, and circuit number 2 in orange was actually all the outside receptacle and electrical boxes. And so originally I had connected that new receptacle to that red one at the end, and now I'm running it back to that orange one to keep everything separate, as you wouldn't want an outside receptacle tripping all your inside lights as well. So another thing I overlooked is that I completely forgot to have a place where I would be able to have my Ethernet cable coming in. So I decided here to remove a single gang receptacle box and switch it to a double gang, so that will allow me to have both a receptacle as well as an Ethernet port, where I will be able to connect a router and have internet connection in this cabin. My goal is to make this cabin as airtight as possible, but I realized way later in the project that I would need some sort of ventilation system so that the cabin here would be ventilated and would not get stale. So what you're seeing me do here is that we're still on circuit number 2, and I'm just adding an additional 2 gang box, which will be used to power the ventilation system and have the switch that will operate it. The system I'm going to install comes with actually 2 units, one on each side of the cabin. The first one will be placed here right next to the window on the left side wall of the cabin, and the other unit will be on the other side on that wall right next to the kitchen wall. Because the 2 units work in conjunction, I have to run a wire from both units back to this 2 gang box. I'm using an 18.3 thermostat wire to run those units. That's what the manufacturers tells you to do. So for now, all I have to do is to run 2 separate 18.3 wire one going to each of the unit. Just so you know, it's called a Lunos E60 and it's an HRV, which means an heat recovery ventilation, and both of them will work in conjunction to ventilate the cabin. When one unit is pulling air from the outside, the other unit is pushing air out, and then every 70 seconds they will switch. And also they have a regenerative core inside, which means that the heat from the air that's coming out of the fan will be transferred to the heat coming in on the next cycle. See this? That's how much I had left. So I got really lucky. I was really close to some drama here. I was not having a long enough wire because I didn't measure it before I bought it. So there it was. I had both my wire, each going to one fan unit. Let's talk about today's sponsor, Bluetti. They have provided me with their latest battery, the AC180. It has an output of 1800 watt, a capacity of 1152 watt hour, and a wide range of output connectivity such as USB-A, USB-C, 4 AC outlets, 12 volt DC outlets, and even built-in wireless charging on top of the unit. The Bluetti is only 35 pounds and can easily be carried around to where you will need it. I started using it for my basic charging need while building my cabin, such as charging my speakers, my phone, my drone, my cameras. It's also been very useful to charge the multiple batteries of my DeWalt power tools, as I usually go through several batteries a day. I also used it to power some LED lights in the cabin, as it can get pretty dark in there. What I like the most is that you can easily see how much output the Bluetti AC180 is producing, about 100 watt here with my two LED lights, and it also tells you how long you have left before it runs out. Here about 7.5 hours based on the 80% charge I have left. Bluetti is currently running their end of the year sale between December 11th and December 25th, 2023. Please go on their website, which I have linked in the description below, to enjoy up to 38% on Bluetti products. They have also offered to give away a Bluetti AC180 to one of you watching this video, so there will be more information about the giveaway later in this video. So here's what the Lunos actually looks like. It's a fairly small unit and it will fit into the cylinder, which you have to place in your wall. So I bought a specific hole saw just so that I would have the right size to make the hole in the wall, because I figured it'd be easier than trying to like makeshift something. Wow, that's a big hole in the cabin. Well, that's a little lower than I wanted it. Yeah, it's kind of low. The tube has to be cut to actually the size of your wall, but it cannot be smaller than 8 inches, which in my case is what I will have to do. I tried to cut it with the miter saw, but it turned out to be a terrible idea. Look at this. This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Doesn't give me a nice cut at all. I ended up using 2 small pieces of scrap wood to set the cylinder into place. The only thing you have to be aware of is that the cylinder actually needs a slight slope so that if there were any condensation in it, it would make its way out. So this piece of wood out front has to be a little higher than the one in the back. After that, I was very generous with silicone or sealant because I really wanted to not have any air leaks around the cylinder. I mean, it definitely got a little messy, but I think it got the job done. Another thing on the list of things to be done is to install the disconnect for the AC unit. So if you recall the electrical episode, I still had a dangling wire inside the wall in the back of the bathroom. And so I finally needed to take the time to actually install the disconnect. And so I did so by deciding where I was going to locate it, and then I added some blocking just so that I would have something solid to run my disconnect box to. I didn't feel like just, attaching it to the siding and the sheathing. So after that, I made sure that everything was aligned and level. And then I secured it with several deck screws into that blocking that I installed. I redid my hole, and then I was able to fish the wire into that hole. And also what I liked is that I was able to go back and install duct seal all around the holes, both on inside and outside, again in an effort to prevent any air leakage from happening. Finally, time for the giveaway. So Bluetti was kind enough to contact me again and decided that they wanted to give away an AC180, which is the unit I presented earlier in this video, And to participate in that giveaway, it's very easy. You just have to go ahead and comment Bluetti in the comment section of this video. And then after that, I will probably assign a number to everyone that has commented. And then, I don't know, I will pull a number randomly out of a hat. And that's how we will know who the winner is. I will then contact the winner directly, and then I will provide their information to Bluetti. Bluetti will not contact anyone directly, so if you get any email saying that they're Bluetti, please ignore it. And lastly, unfortunately, this is only good for people living in the United States or in Canada. I asked them, and unfortunately, they will not ship anywhere else in the world. Also, this giveaway will only be going on until December 30th, 2023. So if you're watching this video after this date, you unfortunately missed the opportunity. So why don't you go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because there will probably be additional giveaways in the future. In the next episode, I will be dealing with a major milestone for the cabin. I will finally be running the utilities between my house and the cabin. So that's going to involve a lot of digging and a lot of challenges. So the link is here right on the screen. Click it and I'll see you there. As always, thank you so much for watching.